Uh, let's get started. And I think this passage is especially section 5 is so important and also helps a lot, helps me at least to understand Buddhism as a whole. Because here, in order to explain emptiness, this book denies all the philosophy of early Buddhism, I would say. So in this framing work, it also lists up all those like philosophy of the early Buddhism, which I found fantastic, because Buddhism is such a huge body. So if I want to understand it, it seemed to me that I need to read at least 1,000 books. So here we have section 5. It's really, really helpful. Wait for me, I will share my screen and then we can begin. Scala, would you like to read this passage? I think you would be the only one.
Yeah. Therefore, O Sariputra, in emptiness there is no form, nor feeling, nor perception, nor impulse, nor consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. No forms, sounds, smells, tastes, touchables, or objects of mind. No sight organ element, and so forth until we come to no mind consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so forth until we come to there is no decay and death, no extinction of decay and death. There is no suffering, nor no origination, no stopping, no path. There is no cognition, no attainment, and no non-attainment.
Any questions or comments? Maybe then I will begin to introduce it a little bit. I will share this mind map I made. So the first point is, it is antithesis to section 3. Section 3 says, form is emptiness and very emptiness is form. And so is feelings, perceptions, impulses, and consciousness. And here we say, so in emptiness, there's no form. So it kind of like in 3, emptiness is equal to the form, but here it kind of like not directly the negation of it, but kind of speaking of the opposite. Say in emptiness, there's no form, no feeling, no perception, no impulse, or no consciousness. And we know these 5 are the 5 skandhas in Buddhism, right?
Mm.
Yeah, you can say. So this is the five skandhas. And what's the following is also interesting from no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, to 29, no mind consciousness. These guys are called 18 data. So what does the 18 data mean? So this is really all like the basics of Buddhism. It's called six senses or sense faculties, six sense objects, and six sense consciousness, maybe say. So they analyzes human perception in our words, aesthetics, or how we perceive the world, right? So you have your sense organs, which they listed as six, and eye, ear, nose, tongue, and one body and one mind. So also interesting. So these things, mind is exactly something as a tongue, say. And the body faculty, they mean something like coordination. How says something like that. So you know where you are and you know how to move yourself.
Like proprioception or something.
Yeah. So nowadays, I think in the perception science, it's also started.
But also touch.
Touch, yes, touch is also here. Yeah.
Do you happen to know what the distinction between the mind as a sense faculty and the six consciousnesses is? I can sort of imagine some kind of I don't know, quasi Aristotelian sort of idea where mind as a sense faculty is like a faculty of imagination or something. But
to be honest, I don't know, but it makes me so curious. I'm really curious to read some like early Buddhism to understand how they analyze this, this stuff, and what's the difference, say, between them and the Greeks.
yeah.
It's really interesting. And then, in any case, I think this step is still simple. So although we find their division of those perceptions a little bit difficult, right? I think I also would ask the first questions: what does mind faculty here means? Why it's one of the six sensations, right? Usually we don't view it that way.
Maybe they also mean things like the mind stops, you're not thinking constantly. Because when I think back in some meditations I did, there was some emptiness going on, and there was no differentiation between outside the body and inside the body. You would just be there. There's nothing to see, to hear, just no thoughts going on, just pure being, nothing happening.
I mean, so you maybe what you want to say is like this: the mind here means not directly like our mind usually, like how we think and how we feel or something like that. We use it, but means the activity one activities of somebody who is meditating.
Yeah, I mean the wavelengths in your brain changes. If you put the electrodes on the head and you would measure what's going on in the brain while meditating, those are completely different than on a normal day-to-day basis, and also different from sleep.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, you still have a certain sense of your surroundings, yes, but it's not on a conscious way. You're not really there, but also there. It's a weird state in between.
Yeah. So this weird state you call mind faculty.
Yeah, I mean, the brain somehow has a break, but also not a break. You can feel the universe, and you're also part of the universe. But it's not like, oh, I have to get butter and tomorrow I have to pay the bills and stuff. You're just there.
No, I think I understand you more. You don't say something based on these 6 faculties. You are in fact describing your experience in meditation. Okay.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it's also related to this because you can feel your body, but also not feel your body. The outside, the area around your body and the inside of your body, there is no differentiation more anymore. And you don't pay attention to what's going on with your eyes. They are closed mostly. You don't really hear anything. Your nose is not really doing anything. You just be.
I
And
mean,
that sounds a bit weird from a
so I think you mean then no 6 sense faculties, right?
that's also not a no. It's they are there, but they are working differently. It's hard to describe. It's like the discussion we had a few weeks back about how to describe the taste of a cucumber. A little bit like this also, because sometimes you have to try it.
Scarlett, do you have any comments to that?
I guess it's helpful to sort of think about a meditation practice in order to understand emptiness here. Like to think of emptiness as the goal or the desired state of a practice makes this feel less abstract, and I think that's helpful. But
Okay, so here then at least the original Buddhism then cut cessation in 6 in this way, a little bit different from how we understand it. Yeah. And that's only the first step. And I think basically they have this model. You have organs of sense organs, and then your sense organs is facing some object and forming some consciousness inside you, like this 3 part. So say you are saying you are looking at a screen, and then the screen is in your sense objects or the object of your sight, and your eyes is then the sense organ, and then you have some consciousness in your we say in our head, maybe they say in their mind or heart, and then that would be the say consciousness, right? So basically they have this model, and then we can have a look like at these 6 sense objects. And there are forms or visible forms. We talked about a lot. Form is emptiness or something like that. Sounds, smells, tastes, and tangible objects, how we touch stuff. And the last one's mental objects. So interesting. Mental objects is not here, but here.
Is it something like ideas or concepts we have in our mind?
That I will like I will show you later. Yeah, but here you can see these 5 divisions are very similar to I think common sense, right? What's weird is here. And now we can see what they think of mental object stories in Chinese. So the first I would say ideas or thought, and the second is memories, and third is concepts, and like the fourth is feelings and emotions, and the fourth is kind of like mental appearances or mental intentions. Yeah. Does that answer your question, Katya?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we can see here this 6 sense faculty, 6 sense objects, now 6 consciousness. And it's visual consciousness, auditory consciousness, how to read this, olfactory consciousness, gustatory consciousness, tactile consciousness, mental consciousness. Also, for me, is which weird is this one? Why is not? For me, all those also mental consciousness. What's the difference between them? So we need to go back to the original text, whether they can answer those questions in a proper way. I don't know, but maybe they have some answer. Any comments or questions? No? And then we come back to the text a little bit. So it's written very interesting. It's after the saying in empties, there's no 5 skandhas, and then come to the no 18 data, and so it listed the first 12 datas, but the last 6 it makes some they ignore them, some of them. Like, let me read it. So no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no form, sounds, smells, taste, touchables, or objects of mind, no sense organ elements, and so forth, until we come to no mind consciousness element. So it's just like the last one says like no, right? No sight organ elements, and so forth, after we come to no mind consciousness element here, in my explanation here is mental consciousness. So here we have a little bit difference. The text like introduced those 12 in one-to-one basis, but in the last 6 just skipped the middle 4. Any comments?
No, I don't think so.
And then later, this passage is so there's no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so forth, until we come to there's no decay and death, no extinction of decay and death. And behind this was something more interesting. It's called basically, so this is 5 skandhas is I think the Buddhistic analyze of human activities. And no 18 data is the Buddhistic analysis of human perception. And here it's called 12 links of dependent originations. And so it's rather to explain all the phenomena like around us and their causality. So the text is really a little bit long. And I'm not sure whether it's too small for you, Skylar, to read, but I would happy if you could read this.
Yeah, I can zoom, so it's fine.
Okay.
The 12 links of dependent origination, I'll skip the Sanskrit, are a classical Buddhist explanation of how suffering and the cycle of rebirth arise through a chain of conditioned processes. In Chinese Buddhism, this doctrine is called, I'll skip this, literally,
yeah, sorry.
thank you, literally 12 conditioned causes. It expresses the broader principle of
dependent origination.
dependent origination. All phenomena arise only through conditions and therefore lack independent self-nature. The chain consists of 12 interconnected stages. It begins with ignorance, which means fundamental ignorance of reality, especially of impermanence and non-self. From ignorance arises volitional formations or karmic actions, intentional activities that shape future experiences. These lead to consciousness, the basic awareness that continues the stream of life. Consciousness conditions name and form. The combination of mental factors, name, and physical body, form. From this develop the 6 sense bases: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. When these sense bases encounter objects, there is contact, which produces feeling or sensation, such as pleasure, pain, or neutrality. The next stages explain how suffering continues. From feeling arises craving or desire, the tendency to cling to pleasant experiences and reject unpleasant ones. Craving develops into grasping or attachment, a stronger form of appropriation. Grasping leads to becoming or karmic existence, the formation of conditions for a new mode of existence. From becoming comes birth, the arising of a new life or state of existence, which inevitably ends in aging and death, together with sorrow and suffering. Philosophically, the 12 links show that what we call a self is not a fixed entity, but a dynamic process conditioned by causes. Because the chain is conditional, it can also be interrupted. If craving and grasping cease through insight into the nature of reality, the cycle of suffering can be broken. Thus, the doctrine of is both an explanation of the origin of suffering and a key to liberation in Buddhist thought.
Very dense text.
Mm.
Shall we try to reread these passages and discuss on paragraph base? Say, I will read the first paragraph, and then we can discuss it a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds good. It's kind of dense.
Yeah. The 12 links of dependent origination are a classical Buddhist explanation of how suffering and the circle of rebirth arise through a chain of conditioned processes. In Chinese Buddhism, this doctrine is called 12因缘, 12 conditioned causes. It expresses the broad principle of 缘起, dependent origination, or phenomena arise only through conditions, and therefore lack independent self-nature. Someone is knocking at the door. I think it cannot be Fritz. Have a look whether he sent me some email. No. Other people, I'm not allowed to let them in.
Yeah, I guess what I find curious about this passage is that it seems like it should be compatible with one of the ideas in the Heart Sutra, which is that things in their own being are empty, that they lack. Maybe this is a jump, but that they lack independent self-nature. And it seems like this doctrine of dependent origination is trying to focus on, the emptiness of all phenomena.
Yes.
So it's curious to me that in 34 we get there's no suffering, no origination, no stopping, no path.
I think it's as I understand it, I think your question is really good. Basically, I would say the Mahayana Buddhism, just like modern philosophy, right, is a yet every modern, we could say maybe very roughly, great philosophers are someone who develops the Greek thought to extreme, right? And then in this case, it seems to me that the Mahayana Buddhism, or at least this uh, Prajnaparamita books of them, develops the doctrine of emptiness to an extreme. So I think here, the original Buddhism, what they want to say is the concept of self, like we are a self, right, is not true, like maybe an atomic self, right? Or maybe even Greek understanding of self or Platonic understanding of the soul. This stuff does not exist, right? It's just a lot of stuff coming together. So we have this illusion that oneself is there. But if you look into this so-called self, we find it's just a wired combination or wired like Zusammensetzung of a lot of different stuff, and they are like was or in flow, right? Or flux. I think basically the original Buddhism seems to me to say something like this. And so here I think the Diamond Sutra and here the Heart Sutra seem to say this emptiness is not only to the concept or of the self or the individual soul, but to every stuff, right? Even using one sentence or every entity kind of like is subject of this emptiness. Does what I said answer a little bit your question?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like an interesting parallel to draw, sort of the way in which Western philosophy is like at the same time a radicalization of its beginnings, but also a rejection of its beginnings, and the way that Mahayana Buddhism is a radicalization and a rejection of like Theravadan or Abhidharmist Buddhism. I'd be curious, sort of like what the mechanism is in Mahayana Buddhism, like what it uses. Like it seems to me like if we're taking sort of the example of Plato, Plato has sort of gives us the beginning of like conceptual analysis or something like this. And then later Western philosophy uses conceptual analysis to sort of like unravel the concepts that he had his characters using. And I wonder if it's also something like conceptual analysis or logic that's active in Mahayana Buddhism. Or I'm just thinking about the Diamond Sutra and how it seems like it's almost like more of a treatise on logic or on the nature of concepts than it is on, I don't know, the nature of the soul or something. But yeah, I don't know, interesting parallel.
You are right. I think that's was what I understand in Diamond Sutra. So in fact, we can say the radicalization of emptiness in logic or in in language or in mind objects or something like that, right? So but it's kind of also touch the most fundamental points, right? If that one is empty or that one is ridiculous, and then you are free, so you can do everything, basically. And you are at least free from suffering, really free from suffering. Any other comments or questions about this first paragraph? I think here's an introduction, right? like what is this 12 conditioning courses is about, and his status, and like summaries or phenomena arises only through conditions and therefore like independent self-nature. And here I think it is from the other two paragraphs we have a short explanation of why they say this, right? Skylar, would you like to read it?
Sure. The chain consists of 12 interconnected stages. It begins with ignorance, which means fundamental ignorance of reality, especially of impermanence and non-self. From ignorance arise volitional formations or karmic actions, intentional activities that shape future experience. These lead to consciousness, the basic awareness that continues the stream of life. Consciousness conditions name and form, the combination of mental factors, name and physical body form. From this develop the six sense bases: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. When these sense bases encounter objects, there is contact, which produces feeling or sensation, such as pleasure, pain, or neutrality.
So the first step is ignorance. Such an interesting, like Socrates or the, how to say that, agnostics, right?
Yeah, super interesting. Ignorance is at the foundation of consciousness.
And nowadays we would say maybe we really know, say, that the Earth or the moon is turning around the Earth, right? Can we say that? Can we say we know that? Yes, I think so, right? So, but also we don't, I don't know. I think a better example would be today we know that the Earth is turning itself, or is going around the sun, right? Maybe like this. We know that. But I don't know. So I just want to say this fundamental start point maybe have some problem nowadays in today because we have science, right? So there we have some like quite good knowledge, say, at least there.
Sure, but I think you can still sort of bracket the sort of idea that we have ignorance about like the fundamental nature of reality from sort of the reach of modern physics, or like it doesn't seem to me like modern physics has answers to the questions we have about like the permanence of the individual soul, or even like the permanence of the universe. Like it's, I mean, there are theories, but or yeah, it seems to me like we can have knowledge of things like the Earth rotating around the sun without that having to do with this kind of knowledge, you know, of impermanence and non-self, and
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, I could imagine sort of a Buddhist saying to you, like, okay, you know, non-self rotates around non-self. That's that's not particularly illuminating, you know.
No non-self.
Right. No non-self.
Maybe we can change that to the Delphi.
no non-self, right? Yeah.
So that Buddhism is just no non-self.
Mm.
Katya, do you have something to say?
No.
No? Okay, so then we go carry on. From ignorance arises volitional formation or karmic actions, intentional activities that shape future experiences. It's so interesting.
Mm.
I think, except scientists in his expertise, right? This sentence still still true.
What do you mean?
Maybe like say a physics teacher at the university, right? Say TU Berlin.
Mm.
So he generally knows what he's teaching to the undergraduates, say,
Mm.
right? So he knows, and so his activities to teaching this stuff are volitional formations or actions, yeah,
Yeah.
which based, maybe we can say, on knowledge, or at least on some certainties or something like that. But after his courses, and so he goes to a bar or something like that, want to eat something, or somehow like just go to the other human activities right there, we can say he's ignorant in a like strictly speaking, he's in ignorance. And then from ignorance arises his volitional formation or karmic actions all around in his life,
Mm.
right? Say maybe he's knows like physics courses, stuff taught in the undergraduate courses, but then his knowledge about music, see, at that day he just went to a concert, say, it's really not knowledge in that sense in his classes, right? But he will do that. In fact, most part of his life consists of those activities. And this lead to consciousness, then he has those on that perceptions, I think, if better, I don't know, the basic awareness that continues the stream of life. Consciousness conditions name and form, the combination of mental factors, name and physical body's form. From this develops eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. And then after that, I understand after this interaction between the sensational objects and mind, then we have emotion. But here only three emotions are listed, right? Pleasure, pain, and neutrality. No other kind of like emotions.
Mm.
Any other comments about this passage? No? So go further to the third, right?
Yeah, do you want me to read it?
Please.
The next stages explain how suffering continues. From feeling arises craving or desire, the tendency to cling to pleasant experiences and reject unpleasant ones. Craving develops into grasping or attachment, a stronger form of appropriation. Grasping leads to becoming or karmic existence, the formation of conditions for a new mode of existence. From becoming comes birth, the arising of a new life or state of existence, which inevitably ends in aging and death, together with sorrow and suffering.
Any comments?
I guess I'm just wondering what a parallel sort of like account of the emergence of awareness of reality would look like.
Awareness of a reality.
Or sort of just if at the base of this we have ignorance of reality, impermanence, and non-self. I'd be curious what the story is on how awareness of impermanence and non-self arises. Sort of what like roots in the human soul.
Oh, I see. You are asking for the possibility or maybe I don't know, maybe metaphysical foundation of the possibility of knowing the truth or knowing the enlightenment, you mean?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Because I could imagine it could be sort of in part of this account, like maybe consciousness at some point like slips away from ignorance into reality, or maybe this like craving or desire slips away from this worldly things and starts to desire enlightenment or a higher plane of being or something like this. I'm just these are just possibilities, but I'd be I guess I'm just saying I'd be curious what the account is, the
I see.
possible account.
Maybe like say for Plato, right? From the feeling arrives desire, the tendency to cling to pleasure experience and reject unpleasant ones. And also the tendency to cling to truth and wisdom, right? Maybe even later on to lift you to the forms and the say, right? What are yeah. So why those human tendencies only viewed negatively here, right?
Or I wonder if they are. I just don't know enough about Buddhism. I mean, someone like Nietzsche would say that Buddhism is like a perverted form of the will to power. That it's it's been a while since I've read Nietzsche, but like that it's like sort of a hubristic rejection of one's weakness in this world, and the fact that one's conditioned by the world and so on. But should I read the last paragraph again?
Yes, please.
Philosophically, the 12 links show what we call a self is not a fixed entity, but a dynamic process conditioned by causes. Because the chain is conditional, it can also be interrupted if craving and grasping cease through insight into the nature of reality. The cycle of suffering can be broken. Thus, the doctrine of the 12 links of, or the 12 conditioned causes, is both an explanation of the origin of suffering and a key to liberation in Buddhist thought. I mean, I guess that's a partial answer to the question. That there has to be an interruption of craving and grasping, but that doesn't seem like a sufficient answer. Because then any interruption of craving and grasping would lead to enlightenment, which seems like it's obviously not the case.
So persuaded. It's a very strong system, right?
Yeah, yeah. Definitely has a lot of power.
It's the basic foundation of religion is unbelievable. How can something like this become a religion? It's even hard for us to understand. So basically, it's just that you use this short form of this, right? He does not list it, know the 12 stuff, but only leaves listed like the first one and the last one, and at the same time their negation. No, there's no ignorance, no extension of ignorance, and so forth, until we come to there's no decay and death, no extinction of decay and death. Yeah, so this is the third part of this this passage, section 5. And then we come to the fourth part, even also very important. No suffering, no origination, no stopping, no path. So these are called Four Noble Truths in Buddhism. Oh, here's all Chinese. I'm sorry. Yeah. So the truth of suffering means in life there are everywhere or prevalence of suffering and Unzufriedenheit, like birth, aging, sickness, and death. And there's like you cannot get your desire fulfilled, and there are always something you don't like, but you need to encounter with them. So the fundamental characteristic of human experience is suffering, bitterness, or unroundness, or unfulfillment. Yeah, that's the truth of suffering. And the truth of origin of suffering. So it explains the reason of, or the cause of suffering. So suffering originates in craving or desire, which means you have sensational enjoyment you love your being, or you seize and upon yourself and desire. And then the truth of cessation of suffering, and means when craving and seizing upon is deleted, then the suffering ceased to ceased its existence, which also means nirvana. And then how to go there is the truth of paths. So there are 8 paths. Yeah. So in summary, this 4 truths of suffering is a logical structure. So explain the suffering and explain the reason of it, and point out the possible way out, and like provide the really true way out. Yeah. Okay, I think I've talked too much. Definitely too much. So that's the original Buddhism, and here this is also this 4 noble truths illusion kind of. Yeah. Any comments to this?
I think so.
No. And then, so come to the end, and then there's no cognition, no attainment, and no non-attainment. And here it's kind of like, say, the way out. So the word is grania, which means wisdom, and here translated into cognition. So also no attainment or non-attainment, I think in the Diamond Sutra, it's also translated into heap of merit or something like this. So also kind of like point to the emptiness of wisdom and emptiness of attainment, and or emptiness of heap of merit. Or emptiness of spiritual religion, maybe. Yeah, I think I finally finish. Finish. Relief. And what shall we do now? Shall we also go through the contest comments, or what do you think?
I think then we might not have time for the whole second half of the Heart
So
Sutra.
you mean we need to finish the whole thing?
We don't have to.
Mm.
I, for some reason, just thought that was your ambition.
Yeah. I just find out, in fact, I was so surprised how rich, at least for me, the 5th section is. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it was really helpful to have the unpacking that you did.
So maybe because it's important, so we just go through a little bit what Kant has to say about it.
Yeah, that sounds good.
What do you think, Katja?
I can try.
Okay.
Let's see how long my voice is doing its job. The full emptiness obtained in section 3 was in 4 shown to be all-comprehensive. Section 5 now completes the dialectic circle and again denies the initial assertion of section 3. Therefore, because all dharmas are nothing but emptiness, in emptiness or where there is emptiness, there all these dharmas are not. We must bear in mind that here nothing but ignorance, itself a negation, is excluded from the absolute. Those whose views are entirely derived from ignorance will naturally fear to be left with nothing at all. Those, not so those in whom the eye of wisdom is open, for they know that only those things are denied here which obstruct its vision.
Complicated. Thank you, Katja. In number 40, they occur under the name of thought coverings later. That's later passage. The reader must, however, be warned that the words in number 22 to 24 do not mean what they say. 22 to 24, which means therefore, Sariputra, in emptiness, there's no form, no feeling, no perception, no impulse, no consciousness. The word therefore to begin with draws a conclusion, and it occurs 3 times in this sutra. In each case, it indicates a conclusion which is not immediately obvious, paradoxical, and invalid by the rules of ordinary logic. The in can obviously have no spatial meaning, nor can the is implied by the Sanskrit and stated in the English being ordinary is because it is equivalent to is not. The duality of is and is not having been abolished or transcended. And the not also cannot be an ordinary not because it is used in a proposition of which one term, that is emptiness, is itself a self-contradictory unity of yes and no. The Sanskrit na is rendered by mu, in the Chinese wu. Which in its turn is the answer to the famous koan. Is the Buddha nature in this dog? I cannot understand this passage at all. I'm lost totally.
But the sentence about emptiness is itself a contradictory unit of yes and no. That's what I would try to tell you earlier.
Mm. So for you, it's very inspiring, right? This passage.
It brings back some nice memories. Yeah.
It's just Hegel, Heraclit. I think I can only go on. I cannot say
Yeah.
anything about
Yeah.
it. Sky, would you like to read it?
Sure. Yeah. Molière, the playwright, had a cook without whose approval none of his works was ever passed for publication. Similarly, I always submit my manuscript to one or two persons who, in their capacity as average Westerners, guide me in my attempt to make the wisdom of the East intelligible to Europeans. These mentors of mine could follow fairly well up to now, but when they were faced with the third somersault of the dialectics, their heads began to reel. I had written that in a logic which identifies yes and no, it is only logical that the identity of world and emptiness should lead to their complete separateness. This, to me, self-evident statement seemed to have no meaning for them at all. I had explained that an absolute identity is the same as an absolute difference, because a relation between the absolute and anything else is an absolute relation, a contradiction in terms, and quite different in its behavior from what is usually called a relation. But my friends only sadly shook their heads and wearily rubbed their eyes, as if dazed by so much splendor. So I've decided that one ought not to be too ambitious in one's efforts to make the implausible plausible. Suffice it to say that the emptiness, which, according to 3, contains all the manifold multiplicity of the world, is, as the One, as well empty of anything that has been counted as a separate dharma, whether conditioned or unconditioned.
I think the central courses here at was an absolute identity is the same as an absolute difference, because a relation between the absolute and anything else is an absolute relation, a contradiction in terms, and quite different in its behavior from what is usually called a relation. So absolute relation means it cannot be a relation, right? It's one. So like we learned in the logic, right? Relation is R and this, how to say that? And A and B, right? But absolute relation means R, A. So maybe a relationship between itself. So that's, don't know. Anyway, Konzum really makes it more difficult than the original text. I have the feeling.
Yeah, yeah.
Shall we go on with it, or shall we just drop like this? What do you think?
Mm. looking to see how much longer the comment is.
Maybe we can from this part because we just talked about this, I think. Maybe then it can help. Like,
yeah.
I can read it, this passage then. What then is here denied are first the five skandhas, second the six sense organs, and third the six sense objects. With regard to the latter, number 24, we may note that forms here are the objects of sight. The term touchables includes not only the objects of touch proper, but also the objects of the temperature sense, the kinesthetic sense, the sense of balance, and the somatic sense, by which we perceive the inward condition of our body in hunger, thirst, fatigue, etc. Here, I think the most important ones, he explains what minds of objects of mind is. Objects of mind are those parts of the world which we perceive through the sixth sense organ, that is, feelings, perceptions, impulses, and subtle forms of matter, and unconditioned things, space, and in a way, nirvana. Next, we come to the 18 elements of all our experiences. They are the six sense organs, the six sense objects, and the six corresponding kinds of consciousness. The phrase and so forth until we come to is a stylistic device constantly used in these sutras for stereotyped lists presumed to be familiar. All it means is that one should mentally supplement the enumeration, which is here abbreviated. At item 5, we have the 12 links of the chain of causation. That is ignorance, formative forces, consciousness, name and form, and the sense field, contact, feeling, craving, grasping, becoming, birth, decay, and death. The conditional formula recites first the order of their production from one another, and thereafter their successive extinction. It's just what we discussed, right? Basically.
Yeah.
Item 6 refers to the four holy truths. That is, individual separate existence is inevitably bound with suffering or ill. Suffering has origination from craving. There's a stopping of ill when craving has ceased, and the eightfold path leads to the cessation of ill. Number 34 sums up the entire Hridaya and provides the clue for its understanding. The Heart Sutra, as a matter of fact, has been planned out as a restatement of the Four Holy Truths. Some subtlety of mind is needed to see the connections, and I leave my readers to ponder the issue for themselves. My own answer must be postponed until the end of section 7. Then 7th, until now all good? Comments? Okay. Let's hear this, some human language which I can understand. The 7th, new cognition. Cognition or gnosis, gnana, is understanding by the wise of the categories mentioned in number 24 and 34, and of their bearing on all the phenomenon of experience, since everything which constitutes the object of emancipating cognition is absent in emptiness. How can that cognition itself be present in it? Finally, attainment means the obtain of the ecstatic meditation, or the full path of a stream winner, once returner, never returner, and arhat, and of the enlightenment of Buddhahood. To show the connection of 5 with the preceding argument of 4, I will indicate how these 8 items can be grouped into conditioned and unconditioned events. We know from the Vipanga and other sources that this kind of grouping was a favorite exercise of Buddhist monks. Conditioned events, I think I should stop here and ask, can you explain this passage for me a little bit? I have some difficulty to understand it.
What do you find tricky about it?
What does, I didn't really understand this passage at all, I have the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it just, I can just sort of reiterate it or paraphrase it. It just seems to be saying that you can't have wisdom of like conventional objects, because in emptiness, conventional objects don't exist. They're not.
Okay.
Mm. But yeah, I don't know if it means that you can't have any kind of cognition.
Mm. Interestingly, he tried to translate it into cognition, not into wisdom, right?
Mm.
Or knowledge or something like that. But
I think the translation to cognition is correct, because if you are in that meditative state of emptiness, you don't really think. So basically, there's also no wisdom, but you feel everything and nothing at the same time. So you feel like you're part of the universe, but at the same time, you don't feel your body anymore. Usually you feel on the normal day-to-day basis, you might feel your body where your skin ends. And there you just a being. It's wider, you're connected to everything and nothing at the same time. So there's cognition is absent, but it's also present at the same time. Does that make any sense at all? I mean, I think it's hard to grasp if you just go over it like from just a mind base without having the experience in the background.
I think you just mean we should translate gnosis, like gnana into gnostics. you know, so I think that in the Western tradition, they also have these mysticals saying very similar stuff.
I'm bad with Western traditions. Really bad.
So maybe Scala, can you explain a little bit Gnostics too?
I don't know very much about the Gnostics either.
Okay.
In English and German uses the exact same word, and this is not really helpful.
Thank you. I think now I understand more. And then we have the last passage, and then it's for today. Conditioned events one side and unconditioned events of the other side. 5 skandhas are conditioned, right? 5 skandhas, what are they again? They are the form, feeling, perception, impulse, and consciousness. Okay. 11 sense fields and part of 12th. That's in fact just those 6, 7 elements and parts of the 8th. Ignorance and after decay. Okay. I think I give up. How about you?
Yeah, it's tough passages.
Yeah. Dharmas are unconditioned. Element of mind object. Extinction, ignorance, after extinction. Third truth. Attainment, cognition. Okay. That's all for today. You have any other questions or comments about this passage? Yeah. So next time we'll finish the whole Art Sutra. And then, then go to Lao Tzu.
Lao Tzu. I'm excited for that as well.
Me too. So, see you next time.
Yeah.
And
Thanks
take care.
to you too for meeting. See you then.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have you already decided on a translation for Lao Tzu?